All right, welcome to episode 8 of the HYPEothetically Speaking podcast. We put the hype in every single hypothetical scenario. Today, I'm joined by 3 guests, returning guest Sam Moldenhauer, returning guest CJ Rousseau, and first-time guest Grant Hill. Fellas, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Amazing. Cannot complain.
Well, I'm pumped that y'all are here for this. We are going to be doing a 2-round rookie mock draft for fantasy football. Just for the sake of everything, we're going to go 24 picks, so just standard 12-team league. Even though there's only 4 of us, we'll just probably make 6 picks each. Pretty standard league, I guess, PPR, and 1 quarterback league. On the clock first, we have CJ. CJ, who is your 1-1 in fantasy football among rookies?
Well, it's got to be the only running back that really has I would say, a good shot at a 3-down job, and that's Breece Hall, the New York Jets. There's no Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson in this class. There's no rookie that's going to come out and set records like they did. So you got to go with the running back that's going to get you touches on the ground and receptions. He's going to be the closest you can get to a 3-down back. He's going to have to split some time with Michael Carter, and I do believe in Michael Carter, but there's a reason that they picked Breece Hall in the beginning of the second round. So I think they're going to feed him the rock. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, and he has a chance to be the highest scoring rookie in this class first year.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope that he actually is one of those record-breaking guys like Jamar Chase was last season. Sam, I'll just ask you a quick question about this. Breece Hall, for like 4 hours yesterday, maybe it was the day before, had me really, really worried about him holding out, but he eventually just signed that contract. He should be, do you think he'll be the 1A to Michael Carter's 1B? Do you see him kind of taking over the role of like a workhorse back?
No, I think he's a good 1A. More so on more emphasis on the 1 and the A. I think he will be more primarily featured than Michael Carter, but also knowing how Robert Saleh and the Shanahan coaching tree falls and how they use their running backs, I still do expect Michael Carter to get a fair amount of usage, but it also could just end up being a hot hand approach, maybe more so earlier on in the season while Breece Hall kind of gets accustomed to NFL play. But eventually I do see Breece Hall leading the backfield, but I don't think it's going to be like a total workload like Najee Harris or something like that.
Well, I'm sure fantasy managers will be hoping for that, but like you mentioned, the San Francisco offense, San Francisco coaching tree, probably not going to be happening quite as much as they'd like. Grant, you are on the clock with the second pick in this draft.
First and foremost, thanks for having me on. That's pretty neat. But as y'all see, I'm wearing Marcus Mariota. $15 if you want to come get it. I'm going to be drafting his go-to receiver, Drake London. Shout out Drake London. His birthday is actually tomorrow. Y'all didn't know that. He is 20. It's going to be 21. So you'll probably pop one open. Hopefully alcohol we're talking about. But all I have to say is he's going to be fed the targets a lot just because who else are they going to be throwing to? So if I was a fantasy league owner, dynasty owner, I'd be getting Drake London number 2 just because 1 PPR, 2 our run game's not going to be good at all. So we have to throw the rock up because we're going to be down because defense is Swiss cheese. So overall, we're going to be in throwing situations a lot more than running situations.
CJ, you're a Falcons fan. Do you have a little bit of bias to you? Do you agree with this second pick? Would you be celebrating his birthday the same way if you got him with the second pick?
Having a root beer.
I would be drinking lots of root beer. No, I mean, I definitely have bias to me. I love my Falcons, no matter how trash they are, year in, year out. But I would have taken Drake London number 2 overall also. I love how big he is. He's got some speed to him. He's a contested catch monster. Like Grant said, not even 21 yet. He's young. He's got a lot of years in him. I think he's a great pick.
I'll also say I don't believe in him. I'll be honest, don't believe him at all, but I'm choosing best player available. And so he's just going to be he's going to get fed the targets. That's why I drafted him. I don't
Grant-
believe it. I hope he proves me wrong.
Like, you see how contradictory that statement is, right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just clarifying because you said you don't believe in him, but he's also the best available.
He is.
Does that speak to the draft class as a whole?
No, what I'm saying is situationally speaking, he is the best player available.
Okay. I see what you're saying now. I got you.
Yeah. Do I believe in him? No.
Okay.
If I had the number 2 overall pick in my actual draft, I would not pick him.
Okay. So Grant, the point of this was to see who you would take.
I would trade out.
You would trade out.
Okay, but who are you taking?
But if you had to have the number 2 pick, say like we're actually drafting.
Drake London. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, situation. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So Sam, you're my honorary Jets fan after picking them to finish second in the division. The Falcons fans made me mad by picking Drake London too. Can you make me happy with your third pick?
Yeah, I mean, I am very happy that Grant went ahead and took a guy he doesn't believe in, second overall. So I'm going to take a guy that I do generally believe in, Garrett Wilson at 3. I would say he's probably in a better situation than Drake London, in my opinion, being on a better offense with a better quarterback. Jets in the past, as an organization, have made questionable moves, but it seems like as of recently, they've taken a lot of good steps forward. To now, I can feel more confident in the offense and the team as a whole. So I'd be happy taking Garrett Wilson, the eventual New York Jets wide receiver 1.
Since you're an honorary Jets fan, I'll let the comments about their past draft history slide and their past moves slide. CJ, what do you think about Garrett Wilson going 3rd?
I don't hate the pick. I may not have picked him 3rd, but I mean 4th or 5th, I like him. Don't blame Sam at all for taking him 3rd. He's a great receiver. He has a very, very good chance of stepping into the number 1 role in that offense. Elijah Moore is going to give him some competition, especially early on as he gets used to NFL speed. But I mean, Garrett Wilson's a monster. He could definitely take over the number 1 role.
Man, I really hope he does, but honestly, I don't even care who's the wide receiver 1. I just want them to all score touchdowns every play. That's me as a fan. With my 4th pick, since you guys took all my Jets, and I'm not going to go Jeremy Ruckert at number 4 overall.
Why not?
Just because
Noah's intelligent.
Man, I want it to be a big surprise when I trade up in our rookie draft this weekend.
I wouldn't put it past.
Say what?
I wouldn't put it past you.
Okay. Yeah, I might just do it. You're talking me into it. I'm going to take Jamison Williams, Lions wide receiver. I think that if he didn't injure his knee, that we're talking about him for the 1-1 or at least the 1-2, definitely the top receiver off the board. He's that talented. He probably would have been drafted by the Falcons, if not earlier, because he's that talented of a wide receiver. The Lions aren't going to rush him back into things. They're going to let his knee heal. And when he does that, I think he's just one of the most explosive players in this draft when he's fully healthy. Still went 12th despite blowing out his knee and not going to be ready. I don't know exactly when he'll be playing again, but Grant, tear my pick apart or support it, your choice.
No, I like it. As far as long-term, he's definitely the most talented receiver in this class as far as speed, hands, route running, everything like that goes. But the knee it should scare you because it's not his first knee injury. If you've done some, research, but I like to pick long-term.
Okay.
So Noah, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all that he had to transfer away from Ohio State to have his most productive season?
No, I'm not worried. Obviously, Ohio State also produces a ton of incredible receivers. He went to Alabama and was I think he was the only player to actually really dominate Georgia's defense last season. So that just as soon as he started doing that, I was like, yeah, this dude's just different. And then had he not gotten injured in the national championship, because he got injured in the national championship, it was what's the other receiver's name?
John Metcalf.
He got injured in the SEC championship, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Dude's just different. I'd take him 4th. But CJ, it's going to go back to you for pick number 5.
Pick number 5, I'm going to go Treylon Burks. He's got great size, great speed, and a big hole to fill on the Tennessee offense. Now, a lot of people are saying that he is Tennessee's new A.J. Brown. I don't believe that. I don't think he's going to step into those shoes quite so much, but I think that they might ask him to. They might try to make him step up and take that role on because they need someone, especially if Derrick Henry suffers with any other injury issues or doesn't come back at 100% for some reason. They'll need someone to feed the ball to. He was first in this class in yards per route run, especially when he was lined up outside, 6 yards per route run, which is phenomenal. He's also a great slot wide receiver. I think he's going to add a lot to that offense. And even though Ryan Tannehill is on the downhill in his career, he's going to have a safety blanket in Treylon Burks.
And Sam, I'll ask you about Treylon Burks. I think a lot of people really like him because of the situation that CJ talked about, where he's going to step in and probably be wide receiver 1 very quickly. Do you think that, even if he maybe wasn't the most talented wide receiver in this class, if he's somebody worthy of the 5th pick?
Yeah, I think he's worthy of the 5th pick. I don't have him that high, but I mean, I understand why people do. It's the opportunity is there, like you mentioned. I wouldn't discount Robert Woods completely, even though he is 30, soon to be 31, coming off an ACL tear. He is the most experienced wide receiver by far on that team. So I assume once he comes back to health, he will demand a fair share of his targets. Yeah, it's just Treylon Burks. There's a lot of question marks about him. What is he actually good at? What position does he actually play? Like in terms of slot, like where does he line up more consistently? And in those, where he lines up, where does he win? How does he win? There's also been some physicality and weight concerns already in rookie minicamp that are a little bit of red flags. But I mean, we saw it in the SEC. Like the dude balled out and had like KJ Jefferson was throwing him the ball. Like KJ Jefferson's a good athlete, but he's not the most well-regarded quarterback. So,
Who's your player comp for Treylon Burks, CJ?
I don't really like player comps, honestly. That's not something I look at. That's not something that I don't like to predict prospects based off people who have already played in the NFL. Guys might make their own.
If you had to.
Right,
I
he
don't
just
look
wants
at player
Treylon
comps.
Burks to be the first Treylon Burks. He doesn't want him to fall in anybody else's path. But since you bring it up, I'll ask you, who's your player comp for Treylon Burks, since you're the player comp guy now?
Apparently. Honestly, I would say the situation, like where he's in, like people don't know where he's going to be lining up, what's his best route, if he is good at route running. He's a big body. He makes plays. He knows how to go get the ball. Sounds a lot like DK Metcalf, if you ask me.
Well, we'll see if
And that's why I don't like player comps.
we'll see if Ryan Tannehill can play like Russell Wilson did and get him the ball, or if it'll look a little bit more like how it may go this season with Geno Smith or Drew Lock. I guess we'll kind of see. But Grant, we'll stay with you. You're on the clock for the 6th pick.
Yeah, I would go Chris Olave right here, point blank. People know I like him. I like him a lot. Speed, routes, separation, catching. He does not wait for the ball to get to his body. He actually goes and gets it. I like the situation too. New Orleans Saints, Jameis Winston, 30 for 30, only player to do that. So he knows, he can throw it. Does he know how to throw it in the right situations? I don't know. But all I'd say is he throws it. And I don't think Michael Thomas is going to be the same Michael Thomas even after the ankle surgery and even after waiting half a season to recover. That's a big question mark there. Jarvis Landry out of his prime, but Jarvis Landry's mind and how he operates in the NFL and how he adjusted from LSU to Miami and then Cleveland, now New Orleans. He has a lot of mileage on him and he knows how to be a professional. Y'all know the Browns video clip, so I'm not even gonna try and mimic that. But Jarvis is a leader and he knows how to mentor. And so Chris Olave is in a right situation to flourish. He's going to do okay year one, but long haul, he'll do great.
Definitely. I definitely agree with he's in a good situation to learn from some very good wide receivers. And now he's got Jameis Winston, who's he is not legally blind because he was when he threw 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions or whatever it was. CJ, what are your thoughts on Chris Olave, the 5th wide receiver off the board, going with the 6th pick?
I think it's a great pick. One thing you look at a lot with prospects that have success is when did they break out? Chris Olave broke out as a 19-year-old true freshman at Ohio State, nonetheless, set the touchdown record. Just a great college career. And I think getting him at the 6th pick is fantastic value.
Yeah, I remember thinking he was going to come out last season or before he kind of said he was going to return. I think I had him going like late first in rookie mock drafts as well. So I'm thrilled that he's actually coming out now, but pick 6 means I probably won't be able to get him. Sam, you have pick 7 now. Are you just going to stick with the theme and go with another receiver, or are you going to spice it up? Kenny Pickett is still available.
As tempting as that, as Baby Hands Pickett is, I am going to go another wide receiver. I'm going to go with Skye Moore. There's so many similarities he has to, I know CJ just said he doesn't like player comps, but I've heard a lot of some Golden Tate shades in Skye Moore. Even like a little bit of like Sterling Shepard vibes. I know Sterling Shepard hasn't been like the greatest of wide receivers, but he has had some hot stretches, has been productive in the league. But Skye Moore, a big reason why I lean him over any other pick is being tied to Patrick Mahomes. And on top of that, now Tyreek Hill is gone. Travis Kelsey is the only solidified target there. So Skye Moore has just as good an opportunity as any other wide receiver to establish himself as the go-to wide receiver on the team. Yeah, I just really love the talent. Love the tape coming out of Western Michigan. So yeah.
Grant, Sam says Golden Tate. When he got picked, I said Tyreek Hill. What do you think?
Tyreek Hill?
I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't actually think he plays like Tyreek Hill, but he's going to fill the shoes of Tyreek Hill because he's going to go play wide receiver with Patrick Mahomes. And of course, that's what that means.
You're saying Skye Moore is receiver 1?
Grant, I'm just trying to see what you think. I'm asking you.
I'm trying to figure out what you're
right. So I'm throwing out some hypotheticals. I'm kind of giving him a range, Golden Tate to Tyreek Hill. I'm asking where you fall on that.
I'm just trying to diagnose the patient here. I just need to know what you're.
Yeah. So I'm the doctor.
You're asking
I'm the doctor. I'm asking you what you think about Skye Moore to the Chiefs with the 7th pick.
I think it's okay. I'm not mad at it. Number 7 is pretty decent value. I mean, you could have gone Skye Moore. I mean, of course, Kenneth Walker is still there if you want to play the waiting game a little bit. But Skye Moore, I mean, Sam made a great point. If you're a receiver and you're with Patrick Mahomes, you're going to do well. He's just one of those generational talents that makes people better around him. Not mad at it, but it's a good value pick.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you for that, because I'm sorry for the way I presented it to you. It may have been a little bit misleading. I got to ask a question better next time, but
that's some clarification.
Yeah, no, for sure. Understandable. We're going to move to the 8th pick with me on the clock. I'm going to end the streak and go running back with Kenneth Walker. I couldn't let him sit any longer. I think there's an argument for him to go earlier, simply based off how good he was last season at Michigan State. And he may actually start. I know Breece Hall seems like the only guy that's like a guaranteed starter day one. But Rashad Penny ended last season really well. But before that, he had been on and off the field with injuries and a little shaky at other times. I still think Rashad Penny's got a chance to be good, but no other running backs do I look at their situation and say, yeah, this guy could start either week 1 or rather quickly. So I think I'd like to scoop up Kenneth Walker. CJ, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the Seattle running back room is a giant question mark. Will we ever see Chris Carson again? Will Rashad Penny stay in form, or is he gonna tear something else? When will we see Kenneth Walker? Will he take over that role? I think eventually he'll have a great chance to take it over, but it's just who the heck are you gonna see in there week in, week out? Who's gonna get injured? Who's gonna stay healthy? I think it's a good pick, but there's a lot of stuff that could happen there.
Yeah, I don't blame it, but show me what could have happened there, CJ. You're on the clock for pick 9.
I at pick 9, I'm going to take George Pickens. I think he is a fantastic prospect out of Georgia. And he's got a little bit of competition with Deontay and Chase, but this pick could signify that the Steelers are looking to let Deontay walk. They don't want to pay him when his contract comes up. And so he may be looking at less competition. And honestly, I think he's going to wind up being a better wide receiver than Chase Claypool. So I think he jumps him on the depth chart. If that's spicy, maybe it is, but I really like him as a prospect. He's going to struggle a little bit getting adjusted to the NFL with Kenny Pickett, baby hands, or Mitchell Trubisky throwing in the ball. I don't know if he's going to get a whole lot of fantastic targets, so he'll struggle there. But as either Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett get better and more used to playing in the NFL, maybe he sees some higher quality targets, and I think he ends the year very well and steps into year 2 in a great spot.
Sam, I was pissed about this pick when it happened on draft night because I love George Pickens and I hated the situation because, like CJ said, it's Trubisky or it's Kenny Pickett throwing in the ball. We've seen Trubisky. I think he's an okay guy, probably a good backup. And then Kenny Pickett, obviously a rookie, but he has small hands. And then the other receiving options, just a lot of competition for George Pickens. I just summed up what CJ said, but what do you think about George Pickens at 9?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of in general was kind of like, man, I'm not like in love with that situation just because, like you talked about, Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool already on the roster. And I've still kind of like gone back and forth of what does this mean for either Deontay or Claypool? Like I can't really make heads or tails of who they want to go forward with. But to speak on the actual situation, so I've seen statistics that it basically describes each team's wide receiver 1, 2, 3, and 4, the percentage that they were on the field, right? So you might expect the wide receiver 4 on the team might only be on the field maybe like 20% of the time because teams don't generally go 4 wide at one time, right? But the Steelers actually, so we have Deontay and we have Chase Claypool, right? Those are your 1 and 2. We already know that. The wide receiver 3 for the Steelers was on the field for 70% of the plays. So you still have a pretty decent opportunity there. On top of George Pickens, like we know generally he's an elite talent. Like I don't think it's crazy to say if he didn't tear his ACL in the preseason, he would have been arguably the one of the top 3 wide receivers taken in this class. So the talent is clearly there. Pittsburgh has been known to just draft extremely well at the wide receiver position, which gives some hope. So it's a situation that I am not totally down on, but there are better situations in this draft class. Most of them have already been picked though. So I like the pick. I like George Pickens.
Thank you for shining a positive light. I needed it because I was really sad about George Pickens. One, having to wear a Steelers jersey, I don't like that, but the situation isn't great either.
Why?
I don't like the Steelers.
Why?
They're good all the time. They
So you're telling-
prevented us from making it to the Super Bowl the last time we made the playoffs. I hold a grudge. There's
I'll
reasons.
pray about it. I'll pray about it.
Thanks, man. Also, while you're doing that, can you make your pick? You were on the clock for pick number 10.
Yeah, man, this is a short, sweet, easy pick. I'm going James Cook. I might reach a little bit, but I like it. He was a 5-star high school recruit. And we all know the Georgia depth chart is as deep as in Mariana Trench. It has a ton of depth. So if you even see the field, like, you're pretty good. I mean, you can look at the list as far as players that have gone to Georgia, specifically in the running back room, and have translated very well to the NFL, rather as a short stint or still in their prime. All that to say is I think he was underutilized because I don't think he fit the scheme, which is more pro style, which ironically the NFL is transitioning more to pass first. So all that to be said is I think James Cook was underutilized. Dare I say it, like Alvin Kamara. He went to Alabama, transferred out, JUCO, went to Tennessee, and then still split carries with what's his face, the receiver from 49ers. Cole would know.
Juwan Jennings?
No,
talking
no,
about-
he was a
are you
running back convert to receiver.
Yikes.
He tore his ACL like twice, but
I can
Jalen
like
Hurd?
picture.
he wore number 1 at Tennessee.
No, wait, Sam, say that again.
Jalen Hurd?
Jalen Hurd, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, Jalen Hurd.
Okay.
All I have to say is he Alvin Kamara? No. Is the situation could be. 4th round is what scares me because you can let go 4th round picks very easy. But Alvin Kamara was in the 3rd round, and Alvin Kamara only had Mark Ingram to compete with at this specific time in the Saints. Whereas James Cook, he has Zach Moss and also Singletary. So, I mean, if you ask me, they're both C plus running backs. They're easy to beat out.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when you're with Josh Allen and you're with Stephon Diggs and you're with Gabe Davis and you're with the 7th round receiver that they just scooped up, like, you're going to do well. Like, their line is solid. You'll do pretty well. And when they pass 50 times a game, are you going to throw to James Cook or are you going to throw to Devin Singletary, who had, 6 drops last year?
Yeah.
You riddle me that.
I love James Cook as a player. CJ, are the Bills finally going to start handing it off to their running back, or are they just going to like continue to not do that very often and just let Josh Allen make plays? What do you think about James Cook going 10?
First, I want to say, I think Grant said James Cook was a 4th round pick. I believe he was a 2nd round pick, back end of the 2nd round. So the capital is there.
No red flags.
Hey, tell him if he did his research, he would have known that. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, CJ.
The capital is there. It's a lot harder to let go of a 2nd round pick. And Grant was right on the head when he said that team needs a steady presence at running back. Devin Singletary closed out the year really well last year. He looked great, but was that a flash in the pan? Has he shown much more before that? I don't think he's someone they can rely on long term. And Zach Moss hasn't shown much either. So they need someone to take over that room. James Cook, like Grant said, very deep running back room historically at Georgia. Played well when he got on the field. I think he averaged about 6 yards per carry when he got touches on the field. Fantastic talent. Hopefully he can take hold of that room early on in the year and show us what he can do on an NFL level.
Yeah. Like I said, the situation is just iffy to me. But I definitely love the pick because he's a champion. So you can't blame someone for wanting championship pedigree on their team. I don't blame you at all.
So
Say that again.
4.4 speed.
Exactly. He's going to be an animal. He is a dog. Sam, your last pick of the 1st round, pick 11. Who you got?
So I am going to go with the last wide receiver taken in the 1st round of the NFL draft. I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. I think it's pretty good value getting him here at the 111. I am not a firm believer in his physicality as a wide receiver, especially in the context of the NFL. Wide receivers generally of his stature, both height and weight, don't typically succeed in the NFL very often. There's also the gigantic red flag of Carson Wentz. So there's definitely a lot of red flags with Jahan Dotson, which is why he ends up falling to the back end of the first round. But still a first round wide receiver. You can't really deny the athleticism that he showed off in college with the amount of spectacular catches he had. He has great hands. Like, I don't deny his talent at wide receiver. I just really question how his general physical makeup is going to translate into the NFL, because like I said, we haven't really seen a lot of players his size, his weight, turn into successful wide receivers in the NFL.
Sam says the talent's undeniable. CJ, is this all just dependent on how many targets he gets while competing with Terry McLaurin? Is Curtis Samuel going to be a factor? Does Carson Wentz survive playing home games on that field? What do you think?
It's always a joke, I say, about Carson Wentz playing on that field. But I mean, seriously, with all the injury history that is there and how Carson Wentz struggles to stay healthy, how long is he going to stay at the helm of that team? Curtis Samuel, I think, is a little overhyped. I do have a little bit of belief in him, but I don't think he's ever going to step up into any sort of a solid wide receiver 2 role. So Jahan Dotson definitely has an opportunity to take that number 2 role behind Terry. Terry's always going to be the alpha dog there. He's going to command most of those targets. But if they can manage to keep Carson Wentz from spraining both of his ankles and keep him on the field, Jahan Dotson will definitely get some targets, and there will be some value there in his rookie year.
Perfect. Well, with the last pick of the first round, I'm going to take Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Packers. I just think that after losing Devontae Adams, there's just a gaping hole there, obviously. And I'm not an Alan Lazard truther to say that the man's just going to step in and just take all the targets. He'll definitely be better, obviously playing along Aaron Rodgers or alongside Aaron Rodgers. I know we talked about it when we were talking about Skye Moore with the Chiefs, just playing with Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be a good thing. I just think playing with Aaron Rodgers is going to be excellent for Christian Watson, and just a rookie then come in. I don't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers plays, so maybe this turns out to not be a good pick long term. But if you're picking 12th, you probably just won the championship. So I think you're good with taking a more of a short-term guy. Sam, am I an idiot? What do you think?
I mean, there's just so many red flags with Christian Watson, like playing in an FCS school. Like, not saying that playing in an FCS school automatically means you're not good at football. Obviously, he was very talented in relative terms. It's just the man could not catch the football. Like, he had so many drops. His catch percentage was, I believe, like something like absurdly low, like somewhere around 50%. Like, and he was like the only wide receiver there for North Dakota State. So obviously he's big, he's fast, and he's talented enough to get drafted into the NFL. There's also just the question of how much does Aaron Rodgers trust some of his abilities and just trust rookies in general. I know Aaron Rodgers is obviously a Hall of Fame talent, arguably the GOAT, but there's just so many red flags with Christian Watson that I would be hesitant to actually pull the trigger in the first round. Maybe top of the second, depending on who's there, but first round, like, that's who you're spending your first round pick on. I don't know. It's just tough for me.
Yikes. Okay. Well, apologies. Looks like I'll keep that in mind as I'm drafting rookies moving forward. CJ, kicking off the second round, who are you taking with the first pick of the second round?
So with the status of this team, it's really weird that I'm picking between two members, but I'm looking at two guys that belong to the Texans. And I think I'm going to take situation and go Damian Pierce, because at this point, there's a pretty steep drop off in quality of running backs in this draft. So especially if you're in a position where this is your team has the first pick in this draft. So hopefully you already got Breece Young. If you still need running back, Breece Hall, sorry, not Breece Young, Breece Hall. If you still need a running back, Damian Pierce is pretty much your last option at someone who has a chance to have the starting job. I mean, he's competing with Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead, who, sure, Rex Burkhead can put up a solid stat line every now and then, but Marlon Mack is essentially a ghost. I get not skipping over him here because he never had more than 106 carries or more than 574 yards in any of his collegiate years. So the talent is maybe not where you want it to be, picking at 13th overall, first in the second round. But I mean, he has the situation in his rookie year. He has the opportunity. And that, I mean, that's a lot more than you can ask for a lot of these guys. It's just an opportunity to show you that they can play.
Grant, we've got another running back that could potentially be a starter or be a starter kind of quickly. I know when I picked Kenneth Walker, I said there weren't any more, but we've talked about two since then. What are your thoughts on Damien Pierce early in the second round?
I think CJ said it best about Marlon Mack being a ghost. I don't really know much about Damian Pierce, to be honest with you. I think he's a ghost. Didn't know much about him when he was in the SEC. Didn't make much noise. So that's just me being oblivious.
He played for Florida. They're not a good team.
Yeah. I know he played for Florida, but I mean.
No, I'm saying like they're not a good team, so I don't blame you for not hearing about him. I didn't hear much about him.
They're good at throwing cleats and losing games. I'll say that. So shout out to LSU. But I'm indifferent about that pick just because I don't know much about Damian Pierce. As far as selection in the draft, I would say it could be steep, could be high. But then again, CJ said there's a huge drop off. And since he played his card saying he's deciding between two Houston players, I was actually going to reach and go John Mechie next too. So CJ and I could be on the same wavelength there, but I'm going to go John Mechie next.
Perfect.
Not trying to steal your limelight. I know you'd say like I'm next.
No, man. Like I'm so glad you did that. So just please explain to me John Mechie.
Yes, I like John Mechie a lot, actually. I think, yes, he was in the shadows of Jameson Williams, but that's not always a bad thing because, again, let me preface this is just situation. I'm a big situation guy. I am not comparing these two dynamic duos at all, okay? But Odell and Jarvis were 1-2 at LSU, right? Who stole the limelight for who?
Just please educate us, please.
Odell stole from Jarvis. Okay, they're both.
Thank you.
Anyways, John Mechie was consistent. He had 80+ catches last year alone. Yes, Bryce Young, future MVP of the NFL, was throwing him the ball. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to say he's MVP. He will be one day.
I love it.
But all I have to say is he's consistent. He gets open. If you have 80+ catches, you're having 120+ targets at least. With that being said, you throw the ball maybe 400 times, you have a 20 to 25% market share of those targets. You got to be open. You have that some type of trust, and that doesn't come from anywhere. Nick Saban does not put bums on the field. All I have to say is John Mechie is solid because he's only competition is really Brandon Cooks or Rex Burkhead. Who's their tight end? I know Jake's in love and infatuated with
Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, he's an automatic wide receiver too, without even stepping a foot on the field yet. Is that
discounting Nico Collins?
Exactly.
Yikes.
I'm not worried about that at all.
Yikes.
So all I say is John Mechie, I'm going to reach. I like him a lot. I like his situation. I think Texans are doing something well. Rather it's David Milestone, the football or whoever. But yeah, I'm going to reach and go John Mechie.
Yeah, I like both the last two picks. I think that both these guys have a chance to start day one, or at least rather quickly, especially when Mechie gets fully healthy. I think he can be a very good fantasy asset. I liked him at Alabama, and then this situation is going to be great. And they're in prime position to draft Bryce Young, future NFL MVP next season. And I think that just vaults Mechie's value up the board. Sam, what are your thoughts on John Mechie?
Wait. So you agree with me, future MVP?
Dude, I love Bryce Young.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Put that on record.
No, I love Bryce. Like, I know I said Jameson Williams tore apart UGA's defense, but Bryce Young as a freshman, just playing the way he did in like as poised as he did in both games. Obviously, the first one was better, blew me away. I love Bryce Young, but Sam, tell me about John Mechie.
Yeah, sorry, there's just been some bold takes in the last probably 10, 15
I
minutes.
know you're just trying to
Just
process it all.
trying to
Please.
process this because I thought
Wait.
I heard something like John Mechie being compared to like Odell Beckham. I couldn't really tell.
No,
I
he
also
was
said
compared to
this.
Jarvis Landry.
I said the situation.
Still, I think
Jamison
that's
Williams,
kind of,
Odell Beckham.
I think that's kind of weird. But I would just like to spend 2 seconds on the Damian Pierce pick. I like it. I have Damian Pierce in the same tier as the player that I'm going to take with my next pick. Some quick stats for mainly Grant because he said he doesn't really know about him. Damian Pierce was actually talking about running back usage in terms of pass catching. So he had, I believe he was split out wider in the slot around 20 to 25% of the time, which for a running back, I'm sure you know, is extremely high. So
Yeah,
he
quite
was
numbers.
he was used in a variety of ways. His average depth of target was down the field, whereas a lot of running backs, their average depth of target is negative, so they're catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage, meaning that their catches aren't as difficult. So I really like Damian Pierce's receiving ability. On top of, he had a lot of great metrics for just actually running the football. So many people might not know who Damian Pierce is because, like Grant said, he didn't really put up a lot of stats in Florida, but there's a lot of great metrics out there to say that Damian Pierce could be really good. And the opportunity, like CJ said, is pretty wide open. But to get to my pick I am at the 203, correct?
You are at the 203.
I am going to go with Rashad White. I talked about I have him and Damian Pierce in the same tier. My Rashad White, I like Rashad White more now than I did when he originally got drafted by the Bucks. Obviously, he got drafted into a great situation, right? Being with the Buccaneers, a great team, so there's a lot of touchdown opportunity, a good defense, meaning they're going to run the ball more often. Tom Brady at the helm. And what's made this even better is that Leonard Fournette, it seems like, has come into camp every day
Eddie Lacy.
with 2 or 3 extra pounds on him, right? So I'm sure people have heard the reports that he's up to like 260, 265. Like, it's just, I know they just gave him a contract, right? A 3-year contract or so, but they drafted Rashad White for a reason. I feel like he's a great receiving threat out of the backfield. I do believe he has some ability as a runner. So he was originally a wide receiver at Arizona State, and then transitioned to running back. So running back isn't his natural position, but I think he's going to be behind a great offensive line. So I think you don't have to be an exceptional running back to succeed in that system. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity early on for Rashad White that I would love to get in the second round.
And just to speak on Leonard Fournette, he did tweet about those rumors. They
Mhm.
wouldn't have that same energy in your face, so why entertain them? ... See y'all September 11th, which I just thought was wild lack of awareness by him. But he's saying that he's going to be ready for week 1, despite people talking about his weight. CJ, what are your thoughts on Rashad White at pick 203?
I think it's a great pick. Just like Sam said, Leonard Fournette, question mark. I mean, he's solid, but he has a little bit of an injury history. He is getting up there in age, so Rashad White could step in and take a little bit of that pass catching role. He does need to block during those pass plays well for Tom Brady to want him to stay on the field. If he misses just 1 or 2 of those blocks, then he's getting taken off. But if he can solidify that part of his game, he can kind of develop in that pass catching role and maybe eat into a little bit of Leonard Fournette's. Sorry, I'm completely
Opportunity
blanking
share.
on the word. Sorry.
opportunity, sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, the opportunity is there, and I think it's a good pick.
Yeah. Well, we've had now 5 running backs come off the board, and I believe that means 10 wide receivers. So I'm going to add to the wide receiver count. I'm going to go Jalen Tolbert for the Cowboys. I saw reports that he's going to start week 1, probably I would assume as a wide receiver 3 behind CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. But being on the field for the Cowboys a lot, I think is a very good thing. Dak Prescott's going to spread it out. I think Jalen Tolbert could have a very solid rookie year. But Grant, what do you think about that pick?
I think it's a good pick. I was actually going to pick him next. He had a breakout year at age 19. So he has the potential to transition well. Like you said, wide receiver 3 should start right off the gate because they have, normally 3 receiver formations to start the season. Dak Prescott is definitely a great facilitator. I like it, but the only issue is Michael Gallup and then CeeDee Lamb. Like, they're very, very young, so there's no opportunity for Tolbert to become a receiver 1 unless the Cowboys decide to move on from CeeDee Lamb, which I'm 95% sure they're not going to. They gave him the 88 number. They also got rid of, the predecessor, terrible with names.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper, thank you, Alabama receiver. Yeah, crazy how Amari Cooper has been on 3 teams already, but
he's like 26 years old.
And he's 26 years old. Yeah, so he still has 5 good years left. That's another side topic.
Oh,
but all to say, I like the pick. At this point, you're just choosing BPA, best potential, and he has a lot of potential. The scary thing is 23, but
I agree. I agree with your points. That's kind of the things I liked about the pick. But we're gonna move on to CJ, and I believe this is the 205.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go David Bell here with the Browns. Now this does depend a little bit on how much Deshaun Watson plays, as does everything in Cleveland right now. We've gone from thinking he's going to be suspended indefinitely to maybe it's not a full season. Now we're hearing like 2 to 8, maybe only 4 games, something like that. But David Bell broke out, you'll hear me talk about breakout age again, as an 18-year-old true freshman, had 86 catches for 1,035 yards and 7 touchdowns. And that's while he was playing with Rondale Moore, who turned out to be a 2nd-round pick in the NFL. So he has a lot of talent. He has played with NFL caliber talent and proven that he can steal those targets when he's competing with guys at an NFL level. He does have Amari Cooper to compete with, who we just spoke about. But Deshaun Watson, if anybody has forgotten, is an absolute elite quarterback, and he very much can take care of 2 fantasy relevant wide receivers.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think about David Bell? I considered him when I picked Tolbert. I considered David Bell, but the uncertainty around Deshaun Watson just kind of scares me a little bit. And then also, like CJ mentioned, Amari Cooper being there now. And also, I don't know how concerned everybody is about him, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, don't know if anybody cares. But Sam, what do you think about David Bell here?
Yeah, no, I really like him for a lot of the reasons that CJ talked about. I mean, the guy was extremely productive at Purdue, on top of competing against Rondale Moore, who was also a highly drafted NFL wide receiver. Obviously, Rondale hasn't done a lot with now being drafted, but at Purdue, he was extremely productive. There was obviously after the combine performance that David Bell had, there was obvious people just fell off. They just said, no, this guy was just good at a smaller school, smaller in retrospect to like other SEC, maybe Clemson, obviously the bigger schools, but yeah, he was productive at Purdue, but right, that's not going to translate to the NFL because he's not athletic. I would press against that a little bit. We have seen a fair amount of unathletic wide receivers come into the NFL and do extremely well. One that I've heard compared to him, I know, like, I'm kind of with CJ a little bit, like, I'm not really too much into comparisons, but I have heard him being comped physically to Keenan Allen in a sense. They put a lot of similar numbers in terms of like 40 time, height, weight, speed, everything. They're very similar athletes in those regards. As far as opportunity, being tied to Deshaun Watson is obviously great. And in terms of dynasty, right? Come on, don't give me that face. I'm talking about football. We're talking about football. In terms of dynasty, obviously, I'd rather be tied to a quarterback like Deshaun Watson than some of the other quarterbacks in the league that like a Ryan Tannehill or something like that. As far as the other wide receivers on their team, obviously Amari Cooper's the number one. I do like Donovan Peoples-Jones. How good is he actually to secure the wide receiver 2 position? I'm not too sure. So I think David Bell honestly has just as good of an opportunity to get that job as Donovan Peoples-Jones. And I think it's going to be a good offense with honestly, I think it's going to be a good offense with anybody at quarterback, anybody in a relative sense, right? You can't put like Drew Lock back there, but I think Jacoby Brissett could lead this team to at least an above average offense. So yeah, I would definitely be into that in the middle of the second round.
Well, you heard it here first. By Jacoby Brissett MVP stock. Dude is taking the Browns all the way. Grant, halfway through the second round, who are you taking here?
Alec Pierce.
Do you want to elaborate on that, please?
The situation. Again, I'm a big situation guy. Alec Pierce, just because Matt Ryan's a winner. If y'all remember, back in 2017, he broke the record for most touchdown passes to different receivers, which was 13. Name another quarterback that's done at least 10 different receivers in one season. You can't. You can, Jake Plummer. But all that to be said is he makes players around him better. He knows how to facilitate the ball. And I know Siege and I have talked about this a lot, but he is behind a O-line that he hasn't had in a very long time. Michael Pittman is an okay receiver. Alec Pierce is
come on now, give him some respect.
No, but Alec Pierce, I think, is a good third option. Of course, you have Paris Campbell if he's healthy. I'm missing another receiver. Who am I missing?
It's those three. That's pretty much it.
That's it.
They throw in guys like Ashton Doolin or some people you've never heard of at wide receiver, but generally those are the three.
I didn't realize that the Colts had 2 guys named Michael Pittman because they have another guy named Michael Pittman who's really good, and I think you left him out.
No, I didn't. No.
CJ, well, actually, no. Continue, Grant, and then CJ. I'm going to ask you your opinion on this.
The same
Grant,
guy
continue,
that said Khalil Mack was going to be a bust.
No, I mean, history does repeat itself a lot, but Paris Campbell will not last 17 games. Alec Pierce will move up to receiver 2, and then the games will begin. I will say, yeah. Michael Pittman's receiver 1, sure. But is he a great receiver 1? I think he's good, not great.
Yeah. Sam, before I allow CJ to take the floor, what was that you said about Khalil Mack?
Grant, what was your opinions on Khalil Mack coming out of college?
Khalil Mack?
Yes.
It's irrelevant.
So for clarification, people don't know, he said he was going to be a
I
bust.
had never heard this. That's why I'm curious.
Yeah, Grant said Khalil Mack was going to be a bust coming out of college. And then it's
Hey, Sam, have you made a mistake today? Sam, have you made a mistake today?
I'm just
okay. Yeah, okay.
Just,
we make mistakes.
It's just very common for. It's like Grant talked about earlier in the draft.
Hey Sam, who'd you trade Julio Jones for? If you want to bring up receipts, like we can. I was gonna play fair. I was gonna play nice.
For the sake of the viewers, Sam, who did you give up Julio Jones for?
Yeah.
I believe it was Jordan Howard and Cameron Meredith was the other piece to that.
And what year? What year?
2018. That was my first year playing fantasy football. Yeah.
So when Julio Jones caught 1,600 yards?
I don't know. I have the stats in front of me, probably.
Okay.
CJ, I know you're dying over there. Can you give me your thoughts? I'm not gonna I really wanted you to be able to talk about the Colts. I'm really glad you're getting the chance to talk about Matt Ryan and Alec Pierce. And please don't hold back about Michael Pittman. I know you're ready.
No, I mean, I like the Alec Pierce pick. I think Alec Pierce has a great opportunity to be the second best wide receiver on the team. I don't think Paris Campbell is going to be a huge factor, but Michael Pittman is not an okay receiver. He is very, very much on his way to a wide receiver one season in fantasy. He's got Matt Ryan throwing him deep balls behind the best O-line he's had since 2016. And last year, behind the leaky O-line that Matt Ryan had, he was one of the top 10 deep passers in the league still, even at his age and how bad people think he is. Michael Pittman is going to go off this year. He's going to absolutely be the number one receiver on that team. It'd be fantastic if Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell could help take some defensive pressure off him so he can have a little bit more success. But I mean, I could not disagree more with the Michael Pittman is an okay receiver take.
I think he's okay. I mean, but again, I'm a big Matt Ryan believer. So of course he's going to amplify Michael Pittman's game.
If I want to go Sam's route, the last time we disagreed on a Colts fantasy player, I was right as well.
Yikes. I'm going to take a guess that was Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, okay, it was.
Okay, what did you say at the beach last week that you're worried about is what?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
His workload, like I was?
About Jonathan Taylor? Yeah, going into this year. This is the year we might start seeing some workload issues, but Jonathan Taylor was absolutely a running back one in that class.
Good deal. I just want to make sure we are on the same page, that you agree with me in the long run. Okay. Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say, what is your Michael Pittman stat line this year? Receiving yards, receptions, touchdowns, go.
I've not statted it out. I have to look at the schedule, look who he's facing, all that.
Sorry, Grant. But Sam, I'm just going to ask before you pick to also give a rebuttal about Michael Pittman, because I heard you laugh when Grant said that. So,
yeah, I mean, I think just he is a good wide receiver. Like Grant said, he is okay or / good, but he 88 receptions, almost 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, all with Carson Wentz throwing him the football. The dude is good. He creates great separation, good route runner. He has the size of a wide receiver one that you want on your team. I think his name just kind of gets muddled around because I don't know, he's just not the flashiest kind of guy. He's not like a Garrett Wilson or a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson. He's not one of these guys that boom, instantly he had success in the NFL. This is going into his third year. His second year was really good for a sophomore wide receiver, playing with, again, I cannot emphasize this enough, Carson Wentz as his quarterback. Now, I agree, Matt Ryan is a great upgrade to Carson Wentz for Michael Pittman. I don't know how much he's going to be involved down the field. I don't know if that's going to be more of a Paris Campbell / Alec Pierce role, and Michael Pittman might share more of the middle of the field, maybe a 10 to 20 yard range. But either way, I really like Michael Pittman's talent. I would be trying to buy Michael Pittman right now if I could.
I'll tell you this, Grant. My predictions are more than.
Yikes!
No.
right before he was about to give it his predictions.
Tough.
More than he had last year. So definitely at least.
The man
froze. There
he's
back.
Bro hasn't moved in 20 minutes. Okay, CJ, can you give us that stat line? I think you cut out.
Yeah, sorry, cut out.
Yeah, so I was going to say my prediction is that he improves on his stat line from last year. As long as everyone stays healthy, he'll definitely have over 1,100 yards.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the schedule and everything.
That's not a stat line. You can say improve, yeah.
He's giving you the stats. He said over 1,100 yards.
I need specific numbers.
If it's down to the individual, don't
and
say
I literally
over
just
1,200.
said,
say
if you want more specific than that, I'll look at the schedule and stat it out. But I know he'll have more than last year.
You cut out. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part.
I don't think you cut out that time. I think you're lying.
Is it my pick?
Yeah, Sam, it's your pick. We're done with Michael Pittman for the night.
Okay,
no more Michael Pittman.
What pick is this?
This is 2-7.
207. All right, so getting back into things, I'm gonna go ahead and take another running back here. Probably one of the last running backs really with any kind of value. I'm gonna take Isaiah Spiller. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. Like, let me get this straight. I don't think Isaiah Spiller is good, really, in any sense. He had, if you look at some advanced metrics, he really was not good, even compared to his own teammates. I know they have Devon Achane, who will be good. I know he's smaller, but he is a lot better than Isaiah Spiller is right now. But for running backs, it's all about the team you get drafted to and the opportunity that's there for you. In my opinion, based on the moves that the Chargers have made, I think they are trying to find a complement to Austin Eckler so that they don't have to ride Austin Eckler into the ground like they've been doing the past couple of years. I think Isaiah Spiller is a bigger body that they can use on the goal line. I think that would be a good fit for him. Again, being tied to a really, and arguably an elite offense with Justin Herbert as your quarterback, an improving offensive line. The Chargers are a smart organization. They have tried to build, since drafting Justin Herbert, they've tried to build from the inside out, getting him a good offensive line to work behind. So I like the opportunity. I don't like the talent of the player, but I'm still going to take him because at this point, I think he is the best player available.
Grant, what do you think about Isaiah Spiller going here?
I just want to get this right. So you said, don't listen to what you're not saying.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying he is good. Like, he's a good running back. Like, I don't think he is that talented. But for running backs, in terms of fantasy, it's a lot of it has to do with the team that you get, the team that you're on, the opportunity that's there for you, on top of other things like who's the quarterback, how good is your defense, how good is the overall offense, is it going to give you a lot of touchdown opportunity? I think there's a lot of positives in those aspects for Isaiah Spiller. The negatives for him are like his actual physical abilities, like his running abilities.
So can you give me an example of a pro running back that's not good but has produced for those specific reasons?
Do we want to get Drew Kushwa on here and explain why Derrick Henry's not a good running back?
No, I want Sam's opinion. He's the one that drafted Isaiah Spiller.
I don't have a lot of advanced metrics for other running backs in the NFL pulled up right now. So off the top of my head, Kareem Hunt has been on the downslide recently. I would say he is a below average running back at this point. And he shares a lot of the same qualities. Like, he is on a great offense. Whether it's, I think even with Jacoby Brissett, like, the team wants to run the football. He is gonna get his opportunities. And being behind Nick Chubb, like, it's just a great combo for them.
So you don't think Kareem Hunt was good at Kansas when he was drafted originally?
I'm telling you right now, and again, for the past like 2 years, he's been on the decline. If you look at some metrics, right? He's been on the decline with his running efficiency. He's still in a great offense. The defense is great, which gives him a lot of opportunity to score touchdowns.
But what about when he was drafted in Kansas?
Yeah, I think coming out, he was a good talent.
Okay. No, I mean, I like Isaiah Spiller. I thought he was good at A&M.
This is an interesting podcast.
No, I mean, I was trying to understand better, like, Sam's reason. He said he doesn't like him, but he drafted him.
Yeah, so
Grant, you did that with pick 2.
I know. I'm just trying to understand better because I made my point. I just want to make Sam.
I mean, again, like I talked about, like, for fantasy purposes, running backs don't necessarily have to be like the best at their position to be a good fantasy football player.
Opportunity.
For sure.
Opportunity is
Opportunity, for sure.
everything, and I think Isaiah Spiller, based on my how they drafted him, I think they want to give Austin Eckler a good compliment to use around. And Isaiah Spiller's a bigger body. He's like 6'2", 220, probably bigger now. I think he's a good goal line back that can score some touchdowns, right?
Sure.
And on top of being in a good offense.
I like it.
Grant, can we hear your thoughts on the Isaiah Spiller pick? Maybe a little bit more in-depth thoughts than I like it.
No, I mean, Isaiah Spiller coming out of college, he is, a head down runner. Like, he does not shy away from contact between the tackles. His size is iffy. I guess that's why he fell in the draft boards. Also didn't really perform well in the combine, but who am I to say perform well when I'm sitting in a bedroom in Atlanta, Georgia? I couldn't do what they're doing. I mean, I do think Austin Eckler, he's like what, 28, 9?
He is 27.
Oh,
Yeah, he's 27. He'll be 27 this whole season.
nice. Okay, so 27 the entire season. So he has like 2 more years after this, but then he declines afterwards, which gives Isaiah Spiller enough time to develop and all that. But I do like the idea of him being a complimentary back to Eckler because their games are completely different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he's not a redundant running back. He actually complements him because he offers different skill set.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I'm going to move on to my pick. We keep things rolling with the 208. I'm going to take wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson from the Giants out of Kentucky, an incredibly explosive player. I do not like the quarterback he has there, but I think that there's a chance that he has a different one next season, which could be future MVP Bryce Young, or like a guy like CJ Stroud, someone that's better than Daniel Jones. That shouldn't take much to find somebody that is. And then with the new coaching staff, I don't think that there's a guarantee that Kadarius Toney is seen as a priority the way he may have been this past season, since it's kind of like the old regime's guy, and now they brought in Wan'Dale Robinson. I think he's got a chance to make an impact day one, and I'm just, man, I hated the way that Kenny Golladay kind of fell off. I hope he can bounce back because I loved him in Detroit, and then the dude just kept getting injured and falling off, which you hate to see it. But Sam, I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about what you think about my pick.
I just would not want to be involved in anything the Giants have going on. Speaking of my own personal experience, I recently traded away Kenny Golladay because, like you talked about, I like him as a talent and I want him to be good, but I think just being with the Giants was not good for him. I know he was injured a lot and he really had no chemistry with Daniel Jones whatsoever. But yeah, the Giants are just not really a team that I want to invest in outside of maybe Saquon Barkley. It's just, I have no idea what direction they're going, and that is, I don't want to have an asset in something that I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, I don't blame you for wanting to stay away from Little Brother in New York. Poverty franchise, no direction for the team. I don't blame you. I just think he has a chance to start day one, and at late in the second round in this class, I think that's probably all I can ask for. But CJ, will move to your last pick of this mock draft with the 209.
For those of you watching the pattern with my picks, you know I'm going running back right here. And for those of you who know I'm a Falcons fan with incredible bias, know that I'm going to pick Tyler Algier. So he not nearly as much of a chance as most of the other running backs we've talked about to take over a lead role, but there is a path. We do have Cordarrelle Patterson, who surprised everyone last year with how he exploded. He was a touchdown machine, great receiving threat. Mike Davis did not quite get the job done. We let him go, but we did add Damian Williams. There's a lot of old depth on the chart. But Tyler Algier, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, could
That's right.
step in and add some youth to this backfield. In his last 2 years in college, he had 2,731 rushing yards for an average of 6.4 yards per carry, 36 touchdowns, caught 42 balls. I mean, he's a well-rounded athlete. He's got the frame to take over kind of a bell cow role if we require that for any reason. But I mean, long-term planning, Damian Williams isn't going to last forever. Cordarrelle Patterson is going to age out eventually, and he's the young guy that's next step up.
Grant, this is your Falcons guy. Sorry, Sam, I know you're a Falcons fan too, but Grant, I'm going to ask you to talk about, I'm hoping CJ was right, Tyler Algier.
I mean, you asked the right guy because I'm a big situation guy. Definitely in a situation to flourish year one, and he has a opportunity to prove himself. But I think he's very expendable. I think we can cut ties very fast. Let alone we have $130 million in spending money next offseason. And so we can go get a prime running back, prime receiver to complement Drake London, or even a quarterback to trade for, whoever it might be. However, he has a year to prove himself, and he has to make the most of it. So, I mean, he literally controls his own destiny. Out of anyone in this draft in the second round, I should say, not whole draft, but second round in this mock, I think he has the most control of his own destiny.
I love it. Grant, your last pick of this mock draft, who's it going to be?
And it's going to go Zamir White. Just because Josh Jacobs, he was not offered his 5th year option. Does not mean he can't re-sign. But all I'm going to say is if Zamir White produces and shows the Raider organization that, he can do just as well as Josh Jacobs can for half the price, why would you keep Josh Jacobs when you have Zamir White, who's a few years younger and also not as big as a hit on the cap? But lo and behold, the cap is increasing significantly. It increased 18 million this year. It's going to increase again. So all I have to say is sooner or later, the cap won't mean as much. But for now, you have to plan for what is in place. So I think Zamir White, situationally speaking, makes the most sense. Plus, we're at the end of the second round. So you're just, shooting in the dark at this point.
Cap
Yeah.
is fake anyway. Doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I like Zeus. I like Zeus a lot. I think Josh Jacobs is probably gone. Maybe. We'll see. But like you mentioned, they did decline. So I think that means he's gone. But we'll see. Sam, what do you think about Zeus?
I mean, at this point, I think it's a fine pick. Like you guys talked about, they did not pick up Josh Jacobs' 5th-year option, which for a team with so much a long history of making very bad decisions, I think that was a great decision to not pick up his 5th-year option. The guy has been incredibly average. Granted, his situation has not been great, but even still, he's been very reliant on the touchdowns that he scored, which is good. Like it's good that he scored those touchdowns, but overall, I don't think he's a difference maker at the running back position. Not to say I think Zamir White is. I think he's very much just like similar to Grant said about Tyler Algier. I think he's expendable, but maybe Las Vegas is turning a new leaf into thinking that running backs are not that important to draft in the first round. So maybe Zamir White gets enough opportunity to produce in some significant way.
Sam, I hope you're right because he's a dog. But give me your last pick of this draft.
I mean, it's really tough at this point. You're kind of picking in a lesser draft class. You're at the end of the second round. There's guys like Kyron Williams, Romeo Dubs is available. If you think Khalil Shakir is good, he's available. And we haven't even talked about any tight ends like Trey McBride is available. How much of an opportunity does he have in Arizona? Especially now with DeAndre Hopkins out, that could open up some kind of door for him. With all that being said, though, I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs here with my last pick in the second round. The guy was very productive in Nevada with Carson Strong there. There's a lot of red flags, right? Playing in Nevada, not the SEC, not even the ACC, like a very low level of competition. A lot of the guys that he played against are probably they're obviously never gonna see the NFL field. So there also were a lot of concerns I heard in the Senior Bowl. So Romeo Doubs is a bigger wide receiver, so you'd expect him to win more often in the red zone. But everything that I heard during the Senior Bowl was that's where he struggled the most, was in those red zone drills. So that concerns me. But I mean, at this point, he's tied to Aaron Rodgers. I know I said earlier with Christian Watson, Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have the most trust in rookie wide receivers, but to be honest, Christian Watson, obviously the better athlete. Is he the better football player than Romeo Doubs? That could be debatable. So to get possibly the better rookie Packer wide receiver a full round later, I mean, I'll take my shot on that.
The dude's last name is Dubs. I really hope that's how it's pronounced. I hope it's not like Doubs or something. I don't know if you checked that already. Maybe you did, but
it's Dubs is everything that I've heard.
Then sounds like it's a phenomenal pick to me. But CJ, I want to get your thoughts.
Right. Like Sam said at the end, the opportunity to be tied to Aaron Rodgers is enough for me to take Romeo Doubs at the end of the second round. So I think it's a great pick. I've gotten him in the beginning to middle of the third round in most rookie drafts that I've been a part of. So I have liked taking him, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs that needs to step up to take that number 2 slot under Alan Lazard. And Christian Watson, obviously the better prospect, better draft capital, probably going to get the job ahead of Romeo. But if you can get a lottery ticket to stay attached to Aaron Rodgers in the back end of the second, early third, why not?
Yeah. And to finish up our 2-round rookie mock draft, I'm going to switch it up and go tight end. Sam mentioned Trey McBride. I'm going to draft him for the Cardinals. Zach Ertz is still there, and Zach Ertz is still playing productive football, but he's getting older. I don't think Trey McBride has to come in and be really good week 1, especially really even year 1. I don't think people really expect that out of tight ends. I think Kyle Pitts was probably the exception for high expectations year 1 out of a tight end. Give him a few years to develop, assuming Kyler Murray is still there. Hopefully that situation hasn't gotten worse and he's on the way out. But if Kyler Murray is still there, Trey McBride, I think at the end of the second round is a very, very solid pick, especially as Zach Ertz continues to get older. Grant, do you think that's a good pick for the end of the second round? What do you think?
Yeah, before I say anything, did you say you were comparing him to Kyle Pitts as far as?
No, so I said he's not like Kyle Pitts. I said you don't have high expectations for him year 1. I think the only tight end that you would have high expectations for in year 1 as a rookie is Kyle Pitts, because the dude is different. No, on the record, no, I didn't say Trey McBride is Kyle Pitts. Thank you for clarifying. If it came out that way, I apologize, because it's not what I meant. But Grant, I do want to hear your thoughts on the pick.
He's pick number 4.
Thanks.
Tying Shannon Sharp for the record. I mean, I like Trey McBride. I like the situation, just because, like you said, Zach Ertz is producing very well. So he has to know a secret, because he's done it for how long now? 8 or 9 seasons. So he has a secret sauce. So I think he can translate that and give it to McBride as far as, nutrition in the season, out of season, how to prolong his career, but also not just prolong his career, but also be a productive career as well. Like you said, Kyler Murray, he knows how to sling the ball. He knows how to throw it around. Like Sam said, DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for 4 games. So that is, 30% of the market share as far as touches and attempts, or targets, I should say. So that's up for grabs. They signed Hollywood Brown. But I think McBride will definitely do well against zone coverages and soft spots in the middle, while Kyler Murray creates time. Zones lose their integrity. So I think you'll find soft spots very easy.
Well, sweet. That wraps up our 2-round rookie mock draft, Dynasty fantasy football, 1 quarterback, PPR league, just all the different descriptions so you guys know exactly how we drafted. But we're going to keep it rolling with more Dynasty talk because I only know how to talk Dynasty fantasy football. I barely even know how to talk single season anymore just because I have done it sparingly the past couple seasons.
How many Dynasty leagues are you in?
Man, I want to say 10.
CJ, how many are you in?
No, I'm in more. Please don't ask. The day Sam said, I think you're in all my leagues. And I was like, wait, really? I'm only in like 4 with you. And he's like, yeah, no, I only have like 4. It made me feel like I have a problem.
I mean, you do.
2 years ago, I think I was in 9. I had to cut it back a little bit as far as Dynasty goes. I'm in a good bit of best ball leagues, but I'm only in, I think, 5 Dynasty right now.
Yeah, I had to cut back on mine as well. I was in probably like a couple more than I am right now. And I just realized, like, dang, I do not have the time for this. And I really don't want to keep going on with these Dynasty teams that, 1, I'm not that involved in, and 2, they suck. Like, I'd rather have fun either in a league that I care more about or where my team is actually good. So yeah, I had to cut down on. I'm probably in like.
I was ran out of a league,
4.
so there's that.
Yeah, that's what we call anarchy. But my issue was that I kept starting leagues as commissioner, and I just started like 5 or 6 in 1 year, and that's my issue because I feel bad about just like saying, yeah, guys, I should not have started this. I apologize.
The Dynasty high is real, man. People just get sucked in all the time.
It's I definitely fell victim, but thankfully a lot of the leagues, I still have that issue. I still start leagues, but now I do it where it's like the buy-in isn't like, it'll just be that the winner buys a fake jersey and everyone just chips in like $3 because that's a lot easier to do, in my opinion, a lot cheaper. But
Best
we won't.
ball's the answer.
CJ, I just haven't gotten into it yet because I like to do it for all the trading and all the moves. That's what I like fantasy for. But I understand why people like best ball, but we're not going to talk about my addiction anymore. We're going to talk about who we'd rather have in Dynasty. And this is the question of the hour for the man of the hour. Grant, I want to do this comparison specifically for you because I'm so genuinely curious. And we're going to do this first take style where you have to choose a side and fight it to your dying breath. I don't want to hear anybody say, yeah, I could kind of see either way. No, I want you to fight it till your dying breath. Grant Hill, who would you rather have in Dynasty? Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson?
Bro, it's Jamar Chase. It's no doubt.
Why?
Why? What do you mean, why? I mean,
okay, I didn't say you had to be Stephen A. Smith.
The question is why not? He broke all of Justin Jefferson's records that were previously there for how long? 1 season? And then he's with his boy, Joe Burrow. He's with an offensive-minded coach, Zach Taylor. They went to the Super Bowl his rookie year, and then he broke all the records, not just single season, but also playoffs. So all that BS in the preseason, oh, he's going to drop, he drops, drop there. Bro, it was just preseason. And what did he do? Did he drop touchdowns? He caught touchdowns. He broke records. All that to say is, yeah, Justin Jefferson's amazing. He is definitely – they're 1-2 as far as dynasty receivers, but Jamar Chase definitely has – he's, I won't say head and shoulders, but he is a head above Justin Jefferson 100%.
CJ and Sam, do either of you guys disagree?
Oh, they agree. It's okay. They agree.
Should we keep it pushing?
Yeah.
Sam, disagree, please.
No, he's not going to because he hasn't.
I mean, I I agree for my own personal reasons,
Okay.
not for any outside reasons that belong to somebody else.
That's fair. Grant, before we move on to the next one, I actually just thought of this. I'm so genuinely curious. Jamar Chase or Prime Odell?
Oh, Prime Odell. Prime
Okay.
Odell.
I
I
don't
was
know
curious.
if there's ever a player Grant would pick over
What-
Prime
what-
Sorry,
Odell.
I was just curious. Is there a chance that Jamar Chase passes him?
Imagine this. Imagine Prime Odell in the offensive league that Jamar Chase is in now.
No, I don't want to give you that. No, we're not going to do that. All right, we'll move to the next one. CJ, I'll start with you for this one. DeAndre Swift or Javonte Williams, who do you want in Dynasty?
DeAndre Swift, and this one isn't particularly close for me. I get the argument, but 9 times out of 10, I'm taking DeAndre Swift. I like running backs who offer receiving upside, and Swift handily beats Williams in that category. 2021, Swift caught 62 balls on 78 targets for 452 yards and 2 touchdowns in 13 games. Williams had 43 catches on 53 targets in 17 games. So 4 less games, a lot more targets, a lot more catches. Jared Goff, at least while he's the quarterback for another year or two before the Lions move on, he checks down 9th most in the league. So those targets are all going to DeAndre Swift because he's going to be on the field for almost all the snaps. And that led to 85 checkdowns last year. 8% of his dropbacks led to checkdowns. So that's a lot of opportunity for DeAndre Swift in the receiving game. And in the PPR world that we play fantasy football in, that is value.
Absolutely. Just to add in, I got these based off of Dynasty ranking on Fantasy Pros. Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 1. Justin Jefferson is wide receiver 2. And on Fantasy Pros, DeAndre Swift is running back 4. Javonte is running back 5. Sam or Grant, do either of you guys like Javonte Williams more?
Yes.
Go off. Tell me why.
Wait. So who was DeAndre Swift sharing the backfield with last year?
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
Okay, and then who was Javonte Williams splitting carries with?
that would be Melvin Gordon.
Okay, and then who was the rookie last year and who wasn't?
Bro, this
Uh,
treating us like 3-year-olds is really awesome. I love it.
No, I mean, hey, I'm say
It really makes me respect you as a fellow podcaster.
I did say first take style. That's my apologies. Go ahead, Grant.
maybe I was going too far in character. No, Russell Wilson is going to make plays. Russell Wilson has a great receiving core. They have a great O-line. I'm not saying Jared Goff doesn't, but I'm also saying Russell Wilson is way better than Jared Goff. We all 4 can agree. If not, I'm getting off right now. But Javonte Williams has a way higher ceiling than DeAndre Swift does. DeAndre Swift is an excellent running back. Not saying he's not, but I'm saying as far as productivity, yes, DeAndre Swift in the past has him beat because Melvin Gordon is better than Jamal Williams. Melvin Gordon was a starter until week 14, week 15, something like that. I don't know. All I have to say is Melvin Gordon's gone. Javonte Williams, he's a force now.
Didn't he sign back?
Yeah,
He
Melvin
is
Gordon's not
signed
gone.
back. Melvin Gordon
Alright,
is
signed back.
not
Well,
gone.
Javonte Williams is the guy. That's all I'm going to say. And
That's another reason I went DeAndre Swift.
I will put a Chick-fil-A meal on this bet. Javonte Williams will outscore DeAndre
Yeah, I will
Swift
take that bet right now.
in
I'll take it also.
football this year, right now.
I'll take
Barring
that bet.
injury, I'll take that bet.
Barring
Yeah,
injury.
yeah.
Define injury. Is that more than 4 games?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
4 games it is. All right. I will see you guys at Chick-fil-A, and I will be eating for free.
I'll send you my Venmo right now.
I just want to pipe in one more time. Russell Wilson, obviously better quarterback than Jared Goff, but you know who else is a better quarterback than Jared Goff? Patrick Mahomes. Does that mean Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a better running back than DeAndre Swift? No, quarterback does not correlate with running back most of the time, and Russell Wilson is not someone who checks down. He creates
Also-
time. He rolls out of the pocket. He keeps his eyes downfield. He's not throwing to his running back 8% of the time. That's a ton of PPR value in DeAndre Swift's favor.
It's not what I was arguing, but you're right.
Sam, tell me why Grant's a stupid idiot, but only because of this question. Keep it to DeAndre Swift versus Javonte Williams talk.
Yeah, so I would also go with DeAndre Swift. Like CJ mentioned, the receiving ability is just, it's DeAndre Swift, greater sign Javonte Williams. in the receiving game. Some stats to back that up. DeAndre Swift had a 26% higher route participation. So what that means is like when the team is on the offense is on the field and they're running routes, DeAndre Swift was running routes 26% more often than Javonte Williams. So he's a lot more involved in the passing game. I would definitely make a case that the Lions offensive line is better than the Broncos offensive line. The Broncos offensive line is good, but I would say I would give the edge to the Lions. You can definitely make the case that Javonte Williams is a better pure runner than DeAndre Swift, but receiving ability, I don't think there's really much question. DeAndre Swift is an excellent receiving back, has more opportunity than Javonte Williams. So yeah, I would lean DeAndre Swift.
Could not agree more. Unless you're Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb, in today's PPR world, receptions equal value.
All right. Well, if we don't have anything else to add, we can move on to the next one, where we have the running back 6 in Austin Eckler, the running back 7 in Joe Mixon. Sam, we'll start with you this time. Who you got?
This is one of the tougher ones. I have Joe Mixon right now. He's a year younger than Austin Eckler. They're in such similar positions, right? The offense obviously is great for both teams.
No, Sam, this is first take style. You take your position, you tell everyone else they're wrong.
Then I am going Joe Mixon without a doubt. This shouldn't even be a question. Move along.
Okay.
Are we actually moving along?
I didn't know if you're going to add more stats to back it up or if we're just moving along.
I mean, yeah, I really don't have advanced statistics to talk about Joe Mixon. I mean, the guy's just he has been the guy pretty much since he got drafted. I know a lot of people have said they want more opportunity for him, and that's fair. He's obviously talented, not only rusher, but also he's a good receiving threat. We saw that in he went to Oklahoma, right? Or no?
Who?
Joe Mixon.
Did he?
But anyway, we saw great receiving ability when
Yes,
he was
he
in
did.
college. Okay, when he was at Oklahoma, hasn't really come out in the NFL. Why that is kind of up for debate. But I still, in terms of dynasty, having a year younger for Joe Mixon is another big plus. So yeah, Joe Mixon is where I'm going to lean.
Anybody team Eckler?
Yep,
You are team Eckler?
I am.
Ooh, tell me why.
So it's again for the receiving upside. Not saying in any case that Joe Mixon is a bad pass catcher. He's a good pass catcher. But I mean, Austin Eckler in everyone's minds is like the pass catching running back if you don't count Christian McCaffrey because he's never on the field. I mean, Joe Mixon is just so irregular with his targets. 1 week he'll have 7 or 8, and then for 4 straight games he'll have 1 or 2 catches. Eckler also sees the ball through the air in the red zone a ton. He saw 16 red zone targets last year. It's 16% of his total team red zone targets. That led to 14 catches for 8 touchdowns. Joe Mixon only saw 7 red zone targets, which turned into 6 catches for 2 touchdowns. Now, 2 touchdowns in the red zone through the air. It's not bad. I'm not saying that. I mean, there's a reason Joe Mixon is what you said, RB6 in ADP. He's a great running back. I drafted him 2 years ago, and I've been waiting for the year that we had last year, waiting through injuries and inconsistencies. Like I said, I think you can rely on Eckler to score touchdowns very consistently. You can rely on his workload and his target share. You can't necessarily rely on Joe Mixon's target share and touchdowns week to week.
Grant, based on your facial reactions, I think you were team Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Which makes you team Sam. Tell me why CJ's wrong.
I wouldn't say the term wrong.
No. This is first take.
I mean, there isn't really a wrong answer here.
No, there is. They're RB6 and RB7 for a reason. I mean, that's what first take does. They compare things that it should be like pretty equal, and they say, no, there's no way it's anything else. Please do that for me, Grant. I'm begging.
Okay. Well, I mean, I would say as far as fantasy purposes go, I think Joe Mixon's ceiling is way higher. He had more outbreaking games last year. I want to say he had more 25+ point games than Eckler did last year. Maybe like one or two more. But all that to say is when Joe Mixon is healthy, I think he knocks Austin Eckler out of the water. But again, like there is no wrong answer here. I'm just weighing towards Joe Mixon because
I mean, who scored more points last year? Wasn't it Eckler?
Huh?
Yeah, Eckler scored more points. Yeah.
Yeah, Eckler scored more points. I'm not talking about points. I'm talking about higher points in a game, like a single game.
So we don't want to score points throughout the season. We just want to win a few games.
Again, I'm saying my ceiling for a single game, Joe Mixon's is higher.
Yeah.
If you want to argue, CJ, we can. Let's just argue about the same thing. That's why I'm choosing Joe Mixon.
Yeah, one thing really quick that I would like to add on, like I talked about in our rookie draft, I drafted Isaiah Spiller because I think he will have a decent role in the Chargers offense. When you look at the Bengals, you have Joe Mixon, and then the next best running back is Samaje Perine. So as far as who dominates their own backfield more, I would right now lean Joe Mixon based on the Isaiah Spiller draft pick.
Chris Evans may surprise us and take over the Joe Mixon role next season, but that's actually pretty doubtful. But we'll keep it pushing to the next one. We'll try some tight ends out, see if we strike similar opinions. Mark Andrews versus Travis Kelsey. We're going to cycle it back through. Grant, Andrews or Kelsey, who you got?
Oh, Mark Andrews.
Not a doubt.
No doubt about it.
Why is that?
This is Dynasty, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, for sure. Age one, that is a huge stipulation. Kelsey, I think this is his last year until you see a drop. I think he's going to put up similar numbers from last year, but you're going to see a significant drop next year. Mark Andrews, he's just now beginning to tap into his prime years, I would say. And then with Hollywood leaving, Mark Andrews already his number one target, Lamar's number one target. And so it's just going to get even better because you have Mark Andrews, huge drop, Bateman. And then you have J.K. Dobbins coming into the situation this year. But all to say is Mark Andrews will have at least 10 targets a game on average.
Yeah. And Mark Andrews is the tight end 2. Travis Kelsey's tight end 3. But on Fantasy Pros, Mark Andrews is number 14 overall, while Kelsey is 33 overall. So maybe this wasn't as good of a comparison, but it's the best we're going to get out of tight ends. Sam and CJ, do either of you disagree with Mark Andrews?
No, I agree with Mark Andrews as well. One of the big factors, like Grant said, is age. Travis Kelsey's going to be 33 this year. Mark Andrews last year, he had a higher catch rate, had a higher yards per target, more receiving yards per game, and more receptions per game than Travis Kelsey did last year. So I would pick Mark Andrews right now, still in Dynasty. My big thing with Mark Andrews is I don't know if this is his peak. I don't think he's going to, fall back down to like less than 1,000 yards or anything, but are we going to see another near 1,400 yards, 107 receptions? I wouldn't bet on it, but Mark Andrews is a great talent, and he's only 27 years old. So,
CJ, if you don't disagree, then we're going to keep it pushing for time's sake. If we're good, Team Andrews, perfect. Wide receiver 9, Deebo Samuel versus wide receiver 10, DK Metcalf. CJ, which one are you taking?
I'm taking Deebo. The one big knock is his health. And if that's your decision maker, I don't fault you for it. I mean, Deebo has had injury issues. However, he is much more versatile than DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is an athletic freak. He is way too fast to be as big as he is. And I love his talent, but he's going to be dealing with horrible QB situation this year. And hopefully that means they land a top prospect next year. But I mean, if they fall into a few wins, they get out of the top 2 or 3 picks, or I mean, as bulletproof as prospects get, even number 1 picks are never a guarantee. So who knows what that quarterback situation is going to be going forward. Now you may say Deebo deals with Jimmy G and Jimmy G kind of sucks. Well, Jimmy G just led Deebo to an amazing fantasy year. They use him in the run game. They use him in the pass game. He's electric with the ball in his hands. I'd rather take 16, 17 games of a healthy Deebo on my fantasy squad than 16 or 17 games of a healthy DK.
Sam or Grant? Anybody team DK?
I'm Team DK.
Dude, tell me why.
Desire. Deebo requested a trade because he desired to be a receiver. He does not want to be a running back. And I like that CJ pointed out that Jimmy G led Deebo to a great season. Deebo led Deebo to a great season. If you look at his stats in rushing, he had, I mean, I can't even pull up the numbers right now, but he had a really good season as far as rushing, as far as touchdowns go, because yes, he was touchdown heavy, but I don't think there's a big drop off from Jimmy G to Drew Lock or Geno Smith. Yes, hell yeah, there's horrible big time drop off, but Drew Lock and Jimmy G, I think they're tier C and tier D, and at that point there's a drop off, yes, but not significant. And I think Drew Lock can do just fine throwing to DK Metcalf because DK Metcalf is a huge target. He has a big body radius. And let's face it, DK primarily runs outs, curls, goes, and posts.
So basically, DK has that dog in him, and Deebo
DK got
doesn't.
that dog in him. And Drew Lock, all he has to do is throw it up in that vicinity, and DK more than likely will get it.
If Geno Smith starts, does that change anything for you?
Drastically, I would go Deebo. So it's all contingent on Drew Lock. But all to say, desire. Deebo requested a trade because he did not want to be running the football because longevity. He wants to have a long career. He wants to play receiver. He does not want to play running back. So I would say, I guarantee you he's not going to have those rushing stats that you saw this year, which means he's not going to have the fantasy production as he had, or productivity, I should say, as he did last year.
I want to point out that receiving stats are more productive than rushing stats, and he will probably translate more to a receiver role, absolutely, because you're right, he doesn't want to be a running back. That means more catches, means more PPR points, and hopefully more yards if he's getting the ball further downfield. So I'm very surprised that your choice is contingent on Drew Lock, because I think there's a big gap between Drew Lock and Jimmy G. And you're right, Deebo led Deebo to a good season. I did not say that correctly, but I do not trust DK in Drew Lock or Geno Smith's hands.
No, Geno, no. If Geno's a starter, I am Team Deebo. But until then, I'm Team DK.
Sam, I think I saw you say Team Deebo. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely Team Deebo. A lot of this hinges on DK is playing with you could argue the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. Drew Lock is very bad. Geno Smith is very bad. DK Metcalf is a great talent, but it's very difficult to overcome extremely poor quarterback play. This is, even if Deebo gets traded, I would still lean Deebo because I don't see Deebo getting traded to a very bad quarterback situation. But being in San Francisco right now, I'll stick with my evaluation of him being there. Yeah, I agree. He's not going to be used in the backfield as much, or at least they shouldn't use him in the backfield as much. But the dude is one of, if not the best wide receivers after the catch in the NFL. I am not concerned with, how many yards is he going to get just being a wide receiver. Like the dude, like over 50% of his receiving yards can come after the catch. The dude is extremely dynamic. I have no concerns whatsoever about his receiving ability. He's a great talent. At just the fact that he is that versatile is a plus to him. We don't really see that from DK Metcalf, which comes to another point of how, like, being in Seattle with Pete Carroll, like, that Seattle is going to run the ball like 30 or 40 times a game. They don't care. They have had consistently been in the bottom 5 of pace of play in the NFL. The team does not run enough plays to make it significant to where even through terrible quarterback play, DK can overcome that. All right. So this is not to say DK Metcalf is going to be bad, right? He's a great talent. He's a good dynasty asset. But I am definitely taking Deebo Samuel over DK Metcalf.
You thought they ran the ball a lot with Russ at quarterback. Just wait until you see how bad Pete Carroll does not want the ball in Drew Lock's hands.
That's
He'll be running on
exactly.
3rd and 12.
No, they are going to just Drew Lock is going to chuck it to DK Metcalf every play. Now it may go to the defense more often.
Maybe
than
a lot
not,
of picks.
but we'll keep it pushing to the next one. We have RB14 Cam Akers versus RB15 J.K. Dobbins. Sam, which one are you taking in Dynasty?
I am going to take J.K. Dobbins in this case. Both running backs have their red flags to them, but since this is a first take style podcast, I am going to vehemently stick with J.K. Dobbins. Having Lamar at quarterback, it helps and it hurts, right? So it helps because you have an extremely dynamic rushing threat paired with you in the backfield at all times. So there's so many opportunities that come from that being a running back, that your yards per carry can increase dramatically with having that mobility at quarterback paired with you in the backfield. Cam Akers, coming off the Achilles injury, was not good in the few games that he played. When he came back, he was outplayed by a washed up Sony Michel. They still have Darrell Henderson there, who is good. They just drafted Kyron Williams, who was a prolific pass catcher in college. So if you're going to draft him, knowing his pedigree and knowing how he was used and where he was successful in college, I presume that they would like to use him in that same way in the NFL. So what does that mean? Cam Akers is going to see even less opportunity in the passing game than we once thought. So there's serious concerns with Cam Akers' overall opportunity in that offense. It's a great offense, going to score a lot of touchdowns. I do think he's going to have the majority of the rushing attempts there, but I would still take J.K. Dobbins. I think he has a much higher ceiling than Cam Akers.
Is anybody team Akers, or are we all team? Are we shocked that Grant is team Akers?
I have him on my team for a reason. Does the Achilles scare me? Absolutely. But the surgery was a success. I mean, he came back in 6 months when that's normally a not career ending, but a pivotal career injury where you drop off the map drastically. Does the Rams drafting a running back scare me? No. The Buccaneers drafted Keyshawn Vaughn a couple of years ago. What has he done?
Is Keyshawn Vaughn Kyron Williams?
I think Keyshawn Vaughn was he was a more coveted recruit, I would say, coming out of college than Williams was, for sure. Absolutely. Do you agree or disagree?
No, but I'm talking about in college. Like, Kyron Williams was one of the most prolific pass catchers in college football history. Like, the dude was an extremely dynamic receiving threat out of the backfield. I don't think Keyshawn Vaughn was that. And where did he go? He
Vanderbilt.
He went to Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
He was okay at pass catching, but nothing special.
Yeah, but that's what Kyron Williams is known for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like Cam Akers a lot because he's an RB1. J.K. Dobbins is RB2. Lamar Jackson is QB, but also a running back too. He is a dual threat. He is the best dual threat we've seen since Michael Vick. He has 1,000 rushing yards in a single season. He's going to do it again because who is he going to throw to? Himself? He's going to run. So I think J.K. Dobbins is the second option in the running game. I think Lamar Jackson will have very, very similar rushing attempts to J.K. Dobbins, which I think is a bigger red flag than the alarming Achilles that Cam Akers could still be recovering from, for all we know. But I still believe Cam Akers has a larger upside and potential this year than J.K. Dobbins does. And so I think that would be a great point to lead in the future because, yes, Lamar Jackson's going to have to translate his game from this dual threat to a more pocket presence if he wants to continue his career in his 30s. And so the question is, will J.K. Dobbins still be around by then? So dynasty-wise, I think Cam Akers over J.K. Dobbins.
The Lamar Jackson is more of a red flag than a torn Achilles is quite a take, seeing as we've seen successful running backs in the Ravens backfield, and we have not seen Cam Akers have hardly any success at all since coming back from that torn Achilles. I understand an offseason may change that. Maybe he comes back a little healthier, but I'm behind J.K. Dobbins also because after Cam Akers did come back, despite having plenty of opportunity behind a decent O-line in the playoffs.
It was 28th ranked, actually.
Okay. Well, I thought they were middle of the pack, so that is my bad. But he had 2.6 yards per carry, and he was getting the ball 16 times a game. He was not very good. He was not creating very much for himself. I just do not like him. The Ravens are a run-first team. Lamar Jackson does take some touches away from the running backs, but he is not a bigger red flag than a torn Achilles is for a running back, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's why we watch. That's why we watch.
That's why they play the games. All right, we're gonna go to some more running backs in kind of sort of similar situations, I think anyway. Aaron Jones, running back 19, but has AJ Dillon to split the backfield with. Ezekiel Elliott, running back 24, but has Tony Pollard to split the backfield with. Guys that I think that a lot of us kind of wish the backups would just kind of take over, but they're probably too good for that to happen yet. Grant, which one of these guys would you rather have?
Aaron Jones.
Why?
Who agrees? Who agrees?
No, I agree. I would take Aaron Jones.
I agree.
That's all we need to know.
Okay, well then, cool. I guess we'll just keep it pushing.
No explanation there. We don't want to.
Yeah, no, I mean,
that at all.
Zeke got paid and he got lazy. He got stagnant. He lost his fast first step. Where did it go last year?
I mean, he got hurt and he still finished as top 10 running back.
Yeah, but they actually, for some reason, the Cowboys definitely believe a lot in Tony Pollard, which is interesting to me.
Pollard.
But whatever.
Apologies.
Put some respect on the
Pollard. He's on my
Memphis
team.
Tigers.
Try to trade him. You can keep him. But all that to say, I like Aaron Jones because of Aaron Rodgers' game. And also the situation. Yeah, AJ Dillon is a monster. I think he's the closest thing we've seen to Jerome Bettis in a very long time. But I think Aaron Jones' game is going to be very complimentary to Aaron Rodgers' game this year because the Packers' receiving core is iffy. I would say mid to low tier. And Aaron Jones has proved himself to be a great check down option and get third down conversions, which builds trust in your quarterback to continue throwing the ball to you. Whereas Tony Pollard has definitely translated as the third down back, the scat back, if you will, to Zeke. So like CJ's been saying, which is why he agrees, I'm sure, PPR, it is a game changer. And Pollard taking that away from Zeke is why Aaron Jones is more valuable.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Aaron Jones is who the consensus is. Fantasy Pros agrees. We will go to tight end 6, TJ Hawkinson versus tight end 7, Dallas Goedert. I believe this will be CJ. Which one would you rather have?
Man, I think there's a good chance that both of these guys underperform compared to ADP. Guys like Pat Fryermuth, Cole Kmet, Irv Smith, Dawson Knox, even if you're an Albert O truther, all those guys are going later and could very well end up higher than both of these names. But I would pick TJ Hawkinson, partly because Jalen Hurts is going to be a mobile quarterback, and now he has AJ Brown soaking up all those targets. So the opportunity is going to kind of go away a little bit for Dallas Goedert. He is talented, but there's just not going to be a whole lot of targets to go around. TJ Hawkinson was getting peppered with targets last year before his injury. Now, typically, historically, running back and tight end targets correlate a little closer than wide receiver and tight end targets. So it would make sense if DeAndre Swift chips away at Hawkinson's volume more so than AJ Brown chipping away at Goddard's volume. But with Jalen Hurts running the ball so much, and I mean, AJ Brown's looking at what, probably 150 plus targets, something like that. I just think TJ Hawkinson has way more value.
Anybody not Team Hawk?
No, I am Team Hawkinson. It's just funny to hear CJ talk down on the guy. He said he was
Yeah.
going to win an MVP.
Oh no, I'm not talking down on him. He's mobile. He's just not going to be throwing the ball as much.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I would still pick TJ Hawkinson. A couple of statistical reasons for that. One, something I talked about with DeAndre Swift. TJ Hawkinson has a 20% higher route participation than Dallas Goedert. He has a higher slot snap percentage than Dallas Goedert. He had 10 or more, or he had 10 plus more routes run per game than Dallas Goedert. He had twice the red zone target share than Dallas Goedert. On top of that, he's 2.5 years younger. So do I think he is an elite tight end? No, but I would take him over Dallas Goedert.
Sweet. We're going to try something different. I know I had a couple more that we were going to try and do, but honestly, I'd rather do this. Grant, Sam and CJ gave their MVP and Super Bowl picks last week on the show, and we really want to hear yours. We'll start with MVP. Grant Hill, who is winning NFL MVP this season?
Oh gosh.
If
I
he
know.
doesn't say
I'm
Joe
so
Burrow.
sorry. I'm so sorry for putting you on the spot. If you want me to, I can have Sam and CJ recap first.
Yeah, can I get a recap?
Sam, give me your MVP and then CJ.
My MVP was Josh Allen because I think right now, as it stands, I have the Bills making it to the Super Bowl. I think a big part of that is because Josh Allen. I think he has been a top 4 to 5 quarterback in the league for the past 2 years now. The team obviously is building everything around him. The defense is going to be great or better than it was last year, adding Von Miller. The offensive line is still average, but I think we've seen Josh Allen overcome that with elite play like I talked about. So I think this year, Josh Allen is going to take the MVP for once.
Sam, just to add in actually real quick, you said you have the Bills in the Super Bowl. Who do you have them playing?
Right now I have them playing the Bucks.
And you have the Bills winning?
I didn't pick a winner, but
You-
if I have to pick a winner right now,
Wait, we didn't have you pick a winner last week?
I don't think so. But
Wow,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I pressed somebody about not picking a winner, and I'm so sorry if I didn't do it to everyone. Sam, who is winning the Super Bowl?
I would pick the Bills.
Okay.
I want the Bills to win.
CJ, go ahead and give me both your MVP and your Super Bowl matchup and winner, and then we can hear from Mr. Grant Hill.
My MVP next year, Jalen Hurts, only player in NFL history with 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in his first 20 starts. He is second in the league in turning pressured dropbacks into positive plays last year behind Josh Allen. Josh Allen, not a bad MVP pick, but I believe in Jalen Hurts, adding AJ Brown to that roster with what he can do with his legs and through the air, much more accurate passer than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I think he really turns it on this year and wins MVP and turns that into a Super Bowl matchup with Matt Ryan and the Colts. And I have Matt Ryan and the Colts beating him out because I want Matty Ice to finally get that Super Bowl ring so I can just I want all the Matt Ryan haters to cry at my feet when he finally wins the Super Bowl.
That's funny. That's good.
It's all you,
I have
Mr.
the
Hill.
Colts going to the AFC Championship, but I don't have them going to the Super Bowl.
Who beats him?
Bills.
I think the Bills will beat them.
Okay. So
I
who?
think the Bengals do hit a Super Bowl slump, but not as drastic as previous years. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't think they go far.
The Super Bowl hangover is real.
Yeah, sadly it is. But yeah, I have the Bills winning the championship this year. I think
Sounds like Josh Allen. It's a good
they're going to
MVP
come out with
pick.
the vengeance. I don't have Josh Allen as my MVP though.
Winning the Super Bowl, not MVP.
Yeah, I hate okay, this is okay again, contradicting, I know. I'm a big Matt Ryan fan. I hate to say this, but I think he will win the MVP.
You hate to say that a quarterback you believe in will win the MVP.
I hate to believe in him that much. Because I do believe in him. I think he's going to do a lot better than he's done in the past because he has an O-line, he has the running back to complement his game, he has a defense to keep him on the field and keep him in games. But that jump, I hate to admit that he will win the MVP. I think he'll win the MVP.
Grant, I will cry if he wins the MVP. I would love that.
Yeah, no, I think he has all the assets. Yes, I don't think Michael Pittman is an A-tier receiver, but I think he will definitely do well. That's the only issue is his receivers. I think he'll have the passing yards. His interception ratio will be very low. He'll win games.
So let me ask you
13
this.
games.
How does he have the passing yards if Michael Pittman doesn't have a good season?
Passing yards is different than touchdowns. We both know it. We both know it.
He's not asking.
That's
about
not what I'm asking.
touchdowns.
Where do the passing yards go from Matt Ryan to have an MVP season if Michael Pittman doesn't have a good season?
So Michael Pittman will have a better season than he did last year, yes.
That's not numbers, Grant. That's just saying improvement. That doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. I'm using serious words. I think Pittman will have a 1,300-yard season.
And that's just like okay to you?
I said Michael Pittman is okay right now, yes.
You think 1,300 yards is just okay?
He's improving. He's going to go from okay to good. You see the progression?
So, but we're talking
right now. We're talking right now. I think Michael Pittman's okay.
But over the course of the next 6 months, as the season plays out, actually less than that, he will then turn into good.
Yeah.
Okay, so in
because
6 months,
because of Matt Ryan.
Solely because of Matt Ryan. Got it.
That's why he's MVP.
And then who's your Super Bowl matchup?
It's
You said Bills. You said Bills.
I said Bills. Bills for sure. Bills for sure. I like them because I think the Bengals are going to hit a slump when it comes to playoffs. Colts will win the division. Deshaun, if he plays, he doesn't play, doesn't have the mesh, doesn't have the team chemistry. They'll make noise, but Kansas, we're going to see how much Tyreek really mattered to the Chiefs. A lot more than people think. Out of the East, it'll be Cowboys and Eagles. I think the Eagles will outmatch the Cowboys. Packers will win that division. Bucks again, Rams again. I think it will be Rams again out of the NFC.
So no Super Bowl hangover for the Rams.
No, they're gonna come back.
Back to
but
back?
they will lose.
Okay.
But they'll lose. Bills are gonna win.
Okay,
Gotcha.
It's gonna be Bills, Rams.
Well, CJ, I'm sorry. This is now the second podcast that you've been the only one to not choose the Bills out of the AFC for your Matt Ryan fandom sake of having everybody cry at your feet. I kind of hope you're correct. But that's going to do it for episode 8 of the HYPEothetically Speaking podcast. Everyone, thanks for listening. And fellas, thank y'all for joining me.
Thank you.